Jury selection is set to begin tomorrow in the Laken Riley murder case, the nursing student's death in Georgia.
Laken Riley, a nursing student, started her day like any other by going for a run on her peaceful campus. That's exactly what she did on February 22nd, 2024. But something terrible happened. She never came back from her run, and hours later, her body was found near a lake on campus, leaving everyone shocked. How could this happen? Why would someone hurt her in a place that was supposed to be safe? As the details came out, this tragic case raised tough questions and led to a national debate about safety, justice and laws on immigration. What really took place with Laken Riley? Riley Laken was a 22-year-old nursing student at Augusta University who was full of life and goals. She was born and raised in Marietta, Georgia, in a close-knit family with strong values and big dreams. Lean was naturally good at getting along with others, and her desire to help people led her to study to become a nurse. She wanted to spend her job helping kids and making a difference in people's lives. Her family and friends say she is smart, kind, and full of energy when she's not studying. Laken was known for her love of running. She was a dedicated athlete who ran cross-country in high school and competed in races whenever she could. Running was her way to relax, clear her mind, and stay active. She was also an active member of her sorority, Alpha Chi Omega, where she made lifelong friends and enjoyed campus life. Lean's smile and positive attitude lit up any room she entered. Friends and family remember her as someone who always had time to listen and really cared. She set goals and worked hard to reach them, and she dreamed of a future where she could use her skills to help others. She had a whole life ahead of her, full of hope, plans, and possibilities. Early in the cold month of February, Riley went on her usual route for running. It was quiet around the University of Georgia campus in Athens. The early morning fog was still hanging over the wooded walks, and Lake Herc reflected the dim light. Not only did she run every day, it helped her stay focused and energetic. She often went running by herself, and she was used to the quiet trails that wound through campus, surrounded by tall trees and the sounds of nature. But today, something felt different. When Laken didn't come back as planned, her roommate became worried because they had plans for later, and Laken Riley was never one to leave without telling someone. By midday, hours had passed without any news, so her friend called the campus police, and they started looking in her usual running paths. As soon as it became clear that this wasn't just a case of a late runner, worry turned to fear. The search led police to a quiet area of campus near Lake Heroic that students often go to for peace and quiet. It was there, hidden by thick trees and shadows, that they made a heartbreaking discovery. When Laken's body was found, it was clear right away that foul play had occurred. The area, which had been a peaceful spot before, had become the scene of a terrible crime. The trails, which had been quiet before, filled with the sounds of birds and leaves rustling, were now full of police and investigators looking for clues to figure out what had happened in the early hours. As soon as word got out about Laken Riley's tragic death, the investigation gathered speed. The University of Georgia Police Department, along with local and state agencies, began a thorough search for answers. Officers searched the wooded trails where her body was found. As they worked to secure the crime scene, they talked to Laken's friends, classmates, and anyone else who might have seen her that day. Her family and friends, who were shocked by her death, were very cooperative with the police and gave them any information that could help. In the early hours of the investigation, police started looking at surveillance footage from around campus. It didn't take long for for a possible lead to appear. Footage showed a man loitering near the trails and acting in a way that raised suspicions. The man was later identified as Diego Ibarra, a 26-year-old Venezuelan who had just moved to Athens. People who had seen him around described him as being very strangely present in student areas, and a picture of him wearing a distinctive Adidas hat matched the description given by witnesses who had seen him near Lake Herrick around the time of Laken Riley's disappearance. When police looked into Ibarra's past, more disturbing information came to light. Ibarra had come to the United States illegally in 2022 and had a history of run-ins with the law, including arrests in Georgia. He lived in an apartment complex close to the UGA campus, so it was likely that he used the same running paths as Laken and other students. But his link to this crime was much stronger than just being close. DNA evidence from the crime scene and things that were linked to him that were found nearby quickly proved that he was involved. More research showed that Ibarra reportedly messed with Laken Riley's 911 call, cutting it off while she was desperately trying to get help with evidence. Building law enforcement was under more and more pressure from the people and the media. Laken's story brought people together in the area, especially her family and friends who were pleading for justice. The story was picked up by the news and quickly spread. Aside from Athens getting national notice, people were horrified by both the crime itself and what it meant. They spoke out against it, demanding justice for Laken and swift action against her killer. Social media was full of messages of support for her family and anger over how she died. As investigators dug deeper into the case, a disturbing picture began to emerge. Witnesses came forward to say they had unsettling interactions with Ibarra in the days before the crime. Some students said they felt uneasy when they saw him hanging out near campus paths and often looking like he was watching runners and students. This behavior, along with his history of problems with the law, made him a top suspect. His crime record made him look scary. There were reports of past arrests and continuing legal problems, such as a bench warrant for missing a court date. More research turned up even more disturbing proof. Based on Ibarra's phone records, he was close to where Laken Riley was last seen before the crime. Forensic evidence also showed that Laken tried to call 911 while she was being slashed, but the call was cut off abruptly, which suggests that someone nearby was interfering with the call. Ibarra's DNA was found on several items near the crime scene, connecting him directly to the area where her body was found. As the investigation went on, clues pointed to a horrible scenario that broke the community's sense of safety. As the case went on, officials thought that Laken Riley's murder may have been a crime of opportunity, where Ibarra saw her alone on the trail and took the chance to attack. Many people agreed with the theory, even though police confirmed that there was no known link between Laken and Ibarra. It was a random act that showed how senseless and violent the crime was. For Laken's family, the randomness of it all added another unbearable layer of grief. Her father said he wished he could have protected her and stressed how unfair it was to lose someone so full of potential to a senseless act of violence. As Laken's family and friends spoke out about their grief, they became strong supporters of justice in the hopes that similar tragedies would not happen again. They talked about Laken's kindness, compassion, and her hopes to make a difference as a nurse for her family and friends. The loss was heartbreaking, but they came together to honor her memory and demand answers and accountability. After Laken's death, there were a few theories and speculations. Some wondered if the murder might have had other motives, while others said it might have been a case of mistaken identity, or that more than one person could have been involved. However, each theory was looked at by law enforcement, who found that the evidence overwhelmingly pointed to Ibarra as the only killer. Investigators combed through every possible lead, determined to make sure no stone was left unturned. In the end, the clarity and consistency of the evidence left little room for doubt. Ibarra's criminal history, his presence on campus, and the forensic evidence all pointed to a clear case against him. The community watched in shock and sadness as the truth came out. Each revelation made the community's grief and resolve stronger, fueling the demand for justice for Larkin. As the evidence grew, police arrested Ibarra and charged him with a number of serious crimes, such as murder with intent to kill, kidnapping, aggravated assault with intent to rape, and obstruction of justice. But Ibarra pleaded not guilty to all charges, which set the stage for a very anticipated hearing. The case quickly got national news, both because it was so sad and because the suspect was an immigrant, which led to heated political debates about border security and criminal justice reform. After Larkin's death, politicians pushed through the Laken-Riley Act. This law was meant to make it harder for repeat offenders to get out on parole and to make it easier to check the immigration status of people who have been arrested before. Supporters of the ACT said that these changes were needed to stop tragedies like this from happening again, stressing how important it is to keep communities safe from people with criminal records. Opponents, on the other hand, raised concerns about the possibility of discrimination and how hard it would be to put these steps into place in a way that works. Still, the act passed with backing from both parties, marking Laken-Riley's legacy as a force for change. After Laken's death, her family remained determined to get justice. Their grief drove them to speak out for community safety and accountability in general. In public statements and emotional interviews, they talked about Laken's kindness, her dedication to nursing, and her hopes for the future. They also announced plans to create a foundation in her honor to help other families of victims and fight for policy changes that protect young women. They have promised to honor her life by working hard so that others don't have to go through the pain they have. Riley's story breaks my heart because it shows how fragile life can be. Not only did her tragic death leave a hole in the lives of those who loved her, it also sent shockwaves through her community and across the country. This young woman's life was cut short in a senseless act, and her story has made many people realize that we need a safer society where laws are meant to protect people and justice is done right away. As we remember Larkin, let her legacy live on. Encourage us to care about the safety of our community and support changes that can stop tragedies like this from happening again. Let's think about what we can do to make places safer, keep the conversation going, and remember the people who died by working for a better future. Thanks for joining me in exploring this chilling true crime story. If you found it as fascinating as I did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into real-life mysteries. Have any thoughts or theories about today's case? Share them in the comments below. I love hearing from you. And remember, stay curious, stay safe, and keep questioning the world around you.